month and a half lag time for hiring these 3 new people. So there was some money sitting there that had been allocated for salaries that was for those specific 3 people that left. Well, when they hired the 3 new people, they gave the 3 new people $1 an hour more than what any other new hire had. And they did that. They could do that because there was money there. And what he's attempting to do here is we've had someone from the state's attorney's office, from the sheriff's office, have retired or left or for whatever reason. And there's about $6,400 roughly between the 2 accounts that would be reduced for their line for salaries. The general line for salaries, it's just a lump sum total, but it's made up of specific people. We don't have it identified in the budget. It's just it's a 1 line item for the total budget. And so what he's wanting to do for these people that are no longer there, he's wanting to take $6,428 respectively out of the 2 budgets total and put it into an earmark it to a special fund. So that's literally reducing those 2 lines for salaries in those 2 offices. Right. But by doing that, literally what we're doing is we're opening up the entire budget to do this.
And this is where what I was saying, that gives him the authority to do that.
Only on this one instance. He'd have to come to us each time he wants to do this.
But anyway.
Because this resolution is a specific dollar amount for $6,400.
I still think we need to discuss this during budgeting.
Well, here's what I look at this. Our job is to give the office holders a budget and stay out of it. It's none of our business what to do. Man, have you seen anything like this before?
No.
I'm not for any of this. I don't care what was talked about in the budget. I'm not for any of this. Scratch it. A budget's a budget. They can live by it. They got to use money for something else. When you start moving money out, then you got to go back and get it, or you've got to figure out who's what's what. It's too confusing. I'm not for any of it.
Well,
to some degree, we're kind of doing it with the furlough, but
I understand that part.
Because we're not opening the budget, but we're just moving the money,
I get that.
and that's kind of what this is, basically the same thing.
No, it's different because the furlough, that is, we have specific rules that we have to have in place to get reimbursement for our expenses. And some of the expenses we're not going to be reimbursed for. We have just received, and Celeste, I talked to Celeste earlier today, we have just received some of the guidelines. JCO was meeting today, was trying to iron in some more of these requirements that we're going to have for municipalities and counties and cities and stuff for reimbursement. And this is money that's specifically set aside because these salaries were paid. We're ultimately going to pay that money because we were paying unemployment. So the money that we set aside for furlough will actually go for when we have to reimburse the state for the unemployment that we have because our unemployment will go up. So that's what's going on there. This right here is, and I understand, I've talked with Ashley about this a little bit, and what's going on, what he's concerned about is that offices, and it just happens to be these 2 at this moment, but these offices come in, and as we see here, we have specific line items that are going to go over. And so we have to vote. The question is, do we vote on the specific line items that are going over? Because these people's overall budget is not in the red, just a specific line. But what he's attempting to do here is just take this money away from them so they can't use this $6,400 to cover overages in other lines as we get closer to November 30th. I truly do understand the concept, but I go back to, by doing it this way, we're opening up the budget. And if we're going to open up the budget, we got a whole bunch of things to cover, which we will have to do before November 30th. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it that we're going to have to open up the budget and redo our current year budget that we're in.
I'm quite certain in the past that they've taken some money from here, they had a little bit over and used it over here. So what? At the end of the day, just stay within your budget. So we got one that feels like it should be open budget. You're saying not open budget.
No, I'm not.
And I'm not for any of it.
No, I'm not for this.
I'm not for.
Scratch it then. I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said beginning.
No, I thought you meant you work for the treasurer doing it.
No, I said if
for it.
anybody was gonna do it, I
Oh,
said it
yeah.
would be
I'm
us.
not for any of it.
That was my point.
We have started this before, it's no need to start now, it's just starting to open up a can of worms that doesn't need to be open.
So let's just move on then.
And I understand where Ashley's coming from. He's just
I get
concerned
it to a point,
And I
he's not
really
doing it for any spite or any reason. He's
for
just-
malicious reasons.
Yeah, no.
No.
He's not.
But I'm just against opening up the budget at this time. I think we should wait and
Okay.
get closer to the end of the year.
So
Quite a process though.
We'll just get that rid of that line then.
Okay, let's jump back up to IT. I see we got a couple IT people here and,
Well, he's down there. It's in new business.
oh, is it under new business?
Yes.
Oh, CDS update. Okay, never mind. Okay, moving on, new business, certification of election judges.
This is the list attached from each of the chairmen of the Republican and the Democrat Party, submitting the names for the election judges for the 2020 to 2022 term. And then the chairman will sign off on that.
Hard to believe we're already there.
You know,
Oh, so these are the people that,
starting the next three elections, November of 20 and 21, and then the March of 22 election. These are the election judges that will serve, work in those elections.
so if, just for instance, like Blairsville 2 doesn't have anybody, you're gonna have to add,
We have an alternate list at the back of people. Yeah, we always have vacancies. So
have you,
the precinct commitment try to submit names, and then the chairman of the party comes in and he looks over the list and makes sure he agrees with all of it before he's actually the one submitting it to you guys, the chairman of the party.
I am sure that there are people out there that would like to do this, or bored, you know, whatever. How do they hear about it?
They can call our office. We get a lot of calls. We put things out on Facebook sometimes, and people will call and say they want to work as an election judge.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
And what do you get? They upped that just a few years ago.
It's,
120.
I would say it's 120. Maybe.
It's worth
I think
every
it's
penny.
120. 120 or 130, somewhere in there.
It's worth every penny of what they do.
Drawing a blank right now. I don't know why. Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah, that, of course, this time around with COVID stuff, you think all these people still continue on doing it, or?
Hopefully so. I've talked to a few judges and they don't seem to have, of course, we're gonna have masks for them and encourage voters to wear masks. Plus, we're getting ready to mail out the vote by mail push. So we'll be sending out 30,000 letters to people to see if they want to vote by mail, the applications. And then once they get those, if they fill them out and submit them back to us, then we'll get a ballot in the mail rather than going to the polling place.
Okay.
But all the polling places will be open in November.
Which is crazy because we have early voting and vote by mail anyway. So
Yes, it's always been.
the additional cost that is incurred by this is, in my opinion, ludicrous.
So you need just a motion to,
Probably just to accept the list.
all right. I want them to accept it, but everybody else like it?
Yeah, I'll make a
That's fine.
motion that we accept the certification list of election judges.
Second it.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bridge Gentry,
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah. Okay, this next one, on the amending Class A liquor license, I got a call from a guy who owns a winery down south of the county, Katie Lynn Winery. And I brought this up for discussion. He's wanting to take the extra wine that he has left over in inventories and distill it into brandy. Okay, in order to do that, you have to get a permit from the federal government because they tax the distillation. Then you have to go to the state and get a special permit from the state to be a distiller. Didn't know if we wanted to do anything as far as our Class A. Class A doesn't cover any craft or distilling. I didn't know if we wanted to add it or create a new license or what. Personally, my personal view is he's going to have to pay for that permit from the federal government and for the state. And we're always pro-business here. my personal view is we just amend Class A to include craft and distilled liquors as well.
I thought about this when I kind of heard it through Stephanie or whatever, but, first of all, I don't know anything about how you do alcohol. Is it legal to do whatever you want to do? I mean,
Yes, once he gets the permits
Okay. Yeah,
from the
then it's-
federal and the state. The federal is so that they can tax it, tax
Of course.
the distilled product.
So if that's the case, I would not, it's kind of a rare breed. I
Yeah.
would not have one. I agree with you, just amend, I guess it would be.
We don't have any
A, or it
craft.
would be A, or would it be more wine situation? One of these be amended, I don't care which one.
Class A liquor license authorizes the retail sale of alcoholic liquors, any alcoholic liquors. Doesn't specify brandy,
Wine.
liquors, wine, beer, it's just alcoholic liquors.
And that's
Yeah,
what-
but this is,
But you're talking about making it.
this is
That's the
making,
retail sale is
He's
what it says
making it,
before.
But is he gonna sell it on the spot?
He can only sell it there at his spot, yeah. He
Because
can't distribute. If he distributes it, then he loses his distributor's license. So,
yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the manufacture of
Correct.
alcohol.
and that's why, and I don't think we have any craft beer manufacturers in our county. So it would, that's why I'm saying I think we ought to amend it to put in
Then
craft and or distilled.
Then I'm gonna back up something you just said. So if it doesn't have anything to do with the crafting of it or making of it, so would it be its own class?
Williamson County currently does not regulate the manufacture of alcohol. We regulate the sale of alcohol, and Class A liquor license covers all types of alcohol. But our current liquor license has nothing to do with the manufacture of alcohol. This only covers the retail sale, and Class A is the broadest
Okay.
category, and it covers everything.
I mean, the other option, just leave it alone and just ignore it.
Yeah, right now, this will cover, a Class A liquor license already covers brandy that he's made on his own premises.
The way it stands.
and if that's all, and he's not selling it anywhere else, he's
No.
only gonna sell it on his
Okay, then it
his
goes back to what
premises.
Jim just said,
Right.
leave it as is. And,
Yeah, I'd say that it's not doing
That's what I
anything.
brought it up for discussion. I didn't
yeah,
know.
I will take Philip's advice.
Because if
Leave it as is.
it gets to the point, and I know in Jackson County, I actually know a couple of places that are making craft beers and for the purpose of selling them, and they do quite well with it. But that I'm aware of, like you said, I'm not aware of anybody in Williamson County manufacturing.
Mhm. He was just wanting to do it because he had excess inventories of wine. And it would be kind of like a little niche where people can go there to sip brandy as well. And so,
If they're just doing that at their location only, because if they were to start to be a wholesaler of it and sell it to other places,
that's different.
that's a completely different story.
Totally, yeah. So you want to just leave it alone?
I would,
Okay,
yes.
we'll just leave it alone then. Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda is the collective bargaining agreement between Williamson County government, the Williamson County Government State's Attorney Support Staff. We've come to an agreement, and this is the contract. We just need a motion to accept the contract.
So moved.
Second,
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay. We have another contract that I don't think we have here in front of us, but we've been working with it for about 3 years. It's the FOP contract. Got a email from Brett that you forwarded that, I believe, to both Ron and Brent, stating that it was ready to approve. So,
I don't think we should approve it until we actually have it in front of us.
that's up to you. I don't care.
I will not approve it without it being.
Brett,
Yeah,
I asked Brett to send it.
I understand, but we don't have it yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Table it.
Table it. Well, we need to make a motion then table it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we table the collective bargaining agreement between the Williamson County government and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Now for the CDS update. Been waiting patiently.
I stand on the Goldex.
Yeah.
We just kind of wanted to take a minute to give you guys an update on the IT, some of the projects we've been working on, and then potentially some road mapping of the county's technology going forward. Last time we talked to you in person, I believe we were looking at upgrading the switching infrastructure and adding more storage. We have that switching in place, but we did uncover some issues with the underground fiber that goes between these buildings. It's not supporting the faster speeds that those switches will allow. So we need to get that fiber re-terminated. And when I looked at that, it looks like it was terminated with what's called a push type connector, meaning that the fiber was cut, glued, and the end was stuck on it. Typically, for an infrastructure grade fiber installation, it would be a fusion splice, meaning that the fiber was lined up on a splicer and essentially spliced or melted together with a laser, which is a more permanent connection. One of the connections between buildings, when we just touched it, the end just fell out. So it's a very poor connection. I tested the primary fiber that's running this building right now, and then there's an open pair with what's called a fiber power meter test. And the open pair that we were trying to use was completely unviable. And the pair that the building's operating on right now, which there's 2 strands per every operational pair basically, is borderline unviable. Basically, it's reading like -8, -9. When we get to -10, we consider that fiber unusable. Fusion splicing is not that expensive, and I'm waiting on a quote because CDS doesn't own a fusion splicer and we don't do fiber splicing. So there's a local company in town that does do fusion splicing, and they're going to be available on the 21st of this month to give me a quote on what it would take to get that done. I don't expect it to be very expensive for them to come and splice 6 strands of fiber here and 6 strands for us there. But what I would really recommend is we also have fiber going between there to the sheriffs as well. We haven't got into that much, but if we're going to have someone here with a fusion splicer, it might be best served to let them go ahead and resplice all the fiber, because that is your critical infrastructure, what's connecting these buildings together. Right now we're getting by, but those connections are very poor and they tested very poor.
Okay.
So that's the one big issue. Other than that, I don't know that we have any major problems going on. We did go ahead and locate the new storage device in the lower basement of the sheriff's department because it's a very secure facility and I've got generator backup. So the email server and other things will back up over into that building now, which I think is fantastic. It's gives us a little bit of redundancy in our actual physical infrastructure rather than having it all in one room right here. I know your on-site guy was furloughed, I think, for a month and a half. And we basically handled 100% of the ticket load during that time without any issues that I'm aware of. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on, Ryan.
The only thing that we continue to run into is people leaving or turning their computers off at night. And that causes a little bit of issues with the backups because with the computers off, obviously we can't get to them.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I know I talked to Stephanie a couple weeks ago to send an email out to everybody, but it's just something that we need to constantly nail down to let everybody know to do not turn their computers off at night.
I'd recommend maybe if you could go with the different departments and just say, get just a 2-minute meeting with everybody and just let them know.
Just let them know.
Yeah, about 6 months ago, I
Reinforce
typed up a personal memo
Yeah.
from me and we delivered it to every desk pretty well.
Yeah.
And we've sent emails. I know she sent emails.
I
It's
know.
just, it's an ongoing thing. And if we need to have some maybe in-service meetings with everyone, I think it's probably just they're not seeing the value of after hours is when we do that maintenance work.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't disrupt your day.
Right.
And so if they're off, we can't back up, we can't do patch management, we can't do proactive maintenance after hours. And then we'll come in, I think today we came in with, I don't know, 40 or 50 backup failures, just from different systems that were online, offline over the last week or so.
Mhm.
So I think, it'd be a good idea. We'll just schedule some
That's,
departmental
I
meetings or
mean,
something.
you almost have to, and even
Around here, it takes several times.
in person, maybe just to say, look, or at least meet with everyone in the department somehow. Say, please do not turn your computers off.
Okay.
That'd be a suggestion. So.
Mindy had a thought back there.
Well, for 20 years, we were told, I've been here for a long time, turn off your computer.
Sure.
So everybody is trying. Every once in a while, they will go ahead and turn it off, but, we had a really bad 6 weeks without an IT guy. And I know you had to furlough them, but a couple of people were having to get online to try to do tutorials to how to figure out anything. And we have problems getting questions answered, or the state's turns off.
Were they putting in tickets with us, or were they just calling just to the office up here
We-
where Jerry usually is?
For one thing, for 2 weeks, we didn't even know he was gone.
Okay.
And I kept leaving the message, the aggravating message where as soon as he pick up the phone, it will call me.
Mhm.
And then I finally called Stephanie and I said, Stephanie, I can't get a hold of, Jerry Steve or Steve Jerry, or, and she says, well, he's been furloughed. And so then Christie, another one of our people in our office, we didn't know that we were supposed to call you for tickets.
Okay.
So the state's attorney's office, it went to Brandon, myself, and Christie. We didn't know we could have done that, or we would have done it. They were just getting on Google and watching tutorials on how to try to fix something.
Okay. Maybe it would be helpful if we put a memo out to all the supported
But they are
departments.
trying to keep the machine.
Keep them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it would be helpful if we put a memo out to all the supported departments that just says a refresher on CDS's engagement with the county, how to contact us, how to properly put in tickets, and also it'll outline our
That would
service
be
level,
great.
our service level agreement with the county, which tells you, how long we have to respond to certain priorities of issues as well.
I know there was some issues with Tierra, and I know that she contacted the help desk, and everything was resolved. She reached out to me personally, and I had her contact the help desk, yeah, so.
Well, it was pretty, it was,
And vice versa, it'd probably help too if maybe CDS would contact the different departments on a random basis and just see,
what's going on.
Yeah.
Sure. We can look,
Once a
we
month
look
or something.
proactively into the systems, the network, the computers, the servers, 24/7, 365.
Mhm.
But if you guys would like for us to proactively reach out to the people as well, just to make sure there's nothing going on.
just send an email out,
Yeah, we'll do that. And we'll put
A
together just kind of a re-welcome package to just say, hey, here we are, here's what we do for you guys, here's how to contact us and all
Yeah.
of that, just a reminder essentially.
Right. Okay.
The only ongoing issue I know otherwise, which we're gonna take a peek at today, is there's a system in one of the departments that has a Kofax scanner that's having
Scanner, the
issues.
assessor's office.
We need to figure out
It's an
what's going on.
outdated scanner that doesn't really support Windows 10, and we're gonna try to find a workaround to make it work.
Okay. In the assessor's office?
Mhm.
Okay.
Any questions
Could
for
we
us?
have to maybe get a new scanner?
Maybe.
Something I don't understand, on the fiber. So I understand what you're saying, the buildings are all connected with the fiber lines.
Right.
So for the speed. But how can coming in and splicing, so I don't understand, how does the splicing of the lines make things work better if the fiber lines aren't up to speed?
So it's, there's two ways to splice fiber. So when the fiber gets put in underground, it comes with no terminations on it. It has no way to connect it into your system. So then someone has to put an end on it, basically, to clip it into a patch panel that's then connected to a switch.
Okay.
Well, there's basically two different ways to put those ends on. There's something called like a glue and cleave method, where basically you're cutting a clean line in the fiber, putting an adhesive on the end of it and sticking an end on it. That's a quick and dirty termination. It's cheap. You don't need a $15,000 fusion splicer to do it. And anybody can go to State Electric and buy a cleaver and the parts to put the end on the fiber. So it's versatile, but it doesn't test well because it's not the purest form.
It's not reliable.
Yeah, when you're talking about fiber, you're talking about 850 nanometer, very small strand of glass essentially. And its tolerance for inconsistencies, dirt, even if it's not lined up properly, are very, very low. Because we're beaming light through that for communication purposes. And when you don't have a clean connection, or it looks like this instead of like this, then we're losing light, which means we're losing data. So we're not certifying at a high enough level for high-speed data communications. So when you have that cleave and glue, you're just cutting it, sticking it on, and usually that works well on older switches with higher tolerances for error, and they're not as high speed as like the new infrastructure we're trying to put in place here. When you get into this high speed 10 gigabit infrastructure, it has a lower tolerance for inconsistent splices, dirty splices, and things like that. So what we first noticed was when we hooked up the new switching infrastructure, we couldn't get 10 gigabit certification on it. So we thought, well, is there a problem with switches, et cetera, whatever. I put my power meter tester on it and saw that the pair we were trying to use was right at 10.23, which anything above 9.99 is considered unviable, basically. So then I said, well, they're operating somehow right now on the other pair. So we waited until the county closed that day and we disconnected the main fiber that you were already using. And it came in at like 8.89 on the test, which is dangerously high as well, you know? And then we looked at that spare that we were using and it was just loosely sitting in the connection. So when you fusion splice something, there is no loose connection because it's essentially fused together at that point. And a fusion splicer looks at it on a magnification level and lines up the fiber for you. So there's no human error there. The machine actually lines up the two pieces, fuses them together, and then does a test on that connection for you as well. It's the next best thing I can figure for you guys improving that communication versus, I mean, if that doesn't improve it, then there's a problem underground with the fiber, essentially, is what I'm getting at. But when one of those can fall out in your hand, we can clearly see, hey, we should have somebody come and fusion splice these. So probably whoever ran the wiring, electrical, I'm guessing ran that fiber at the time, and they probably weren't someone who does a lot of fiber, so they just did the cleave and glue connections instead. So that's my assessment, but I'm speculating. So.
Okay.
But we can see that making a big improvement, and while we have someone here with the machine and the materials, I think
Sure,
it would make
makes
sense to
sense.
let them just resplice. And I've had to do that for other clients who had older fiber in place, and
You have an idea, a ballpark?
I've seen it be around $100 to $120 per splice. The guy I'm working with locally, you know, we're going to talk with him about getting a quote, see if he can come do it. We'll probably get a couple other quotes too, just to make sure we're competitive on it. And then we'll just pass that off to you guys directly. There's no reason for that to pass through CDS, really. We just thought it makes sense for us to go out and get the information. And put it together for you. So
All right.
You know, you have a better understanding of it than we would.
that's what we were thinking. We would reach out to people and just and be able to present it to you at least, so you wouldn't have to put it on your agenda to go and find someone to come and do fusion splicing for us.
Could you imagine Ron, one of us trying to explain this to somebody?
And no way.
Well, right now, I'm installing new cable TV hookups, so I somewhat
There you go.
understand.
But you get the idea. Even in cable TV,
Yeah.
there's a compression splice, there's a screw-on splice. There's
Yeah.
a lot of different ways to do it. Some are better than others.
Yeah.
Some things you can get at Menards. Some things you got a special order, you know. And so that's kind of the difference in your fiber too.
Yeah.
And the cleave and glue type connections. Are you guys going to go down right now? No, but I'd really like to utilize that faster infrastructure we talked about in the last meeting, and I'd like to set you up for the future to make sure we don't have a problem. Because right now, if the primary strand you're on, there's 3 strands in there. Regional Office of Education's using one, you're using one, and one is open. The open strand is damaged right now. It's unviable. The one you're on is very high, very low power reading, so it's kind of on borderline. You know, what's going to happen. If anything happened to that, I have no way to move the fiber to the open strand right now because the open strand is not viable.
Okay.
We figured that out because we were trying to use the open strand to run the new switches in parallel to the old switches. So otherwise, we would have never even tapped that extra strand to find this out.
You said these are fiber optics?
Fiber optic cables, yeah. There's one that goes under this building over there into the basement switching room there. And then it goes from there, there's some additional fiber going from there to dispatch and
Yeah.
to the sheriff's office as well. And then down to the lower data center of the sheriff's office as
Okay.
well. So,
And then the other building, the jail building has to be connected in there too.
yeah, it is connected. It's just a matter of if we want to have someone come and just clean up all those connections for us at the same time as
If you're
well.
gonna do it, why not do it all?
That's what I'm thinking, that everything certifies well. I'd really like to get those readings down to like -5, -6, and that's viable. 10 gig, future proof. We don't have to worry about them falling apart in your hands, basically. So,
The other thing is you guys approved the server for the sheriff's office a
Right,
few months ago.
right.
That server is over there, so we are coordinating with ID Networks to get all
Okay.
that stuff
Okay.
transferred and
Well, that's
setting up all that information. So,
That reminds me. We had and I don't have it on me, I have it, and I didn't get it printed. I apologize for that, but we have a bill for $1,500 that's connected with that, that finishes the connection with us, the city of Marion, Johnson County, Polk County, and Hardin County.
so bill to ID Networks, is that who the bill's from, possibly?
I don't remember who it's from, but I know our portion of that's $1,500.
Okay.
And that's the final cut of it.
Yeah,
So,
that would likely, there's a software vendor called ID Networks that provides the the software that communicates between City of Marion, Williamson County, and then the other counties or municipalities that are maybe coming on board in that.
Yeah, the total bill was like $6,200 or $6,300.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't seen the bill myself, but I'm guessing it's probably through them. It would be if you have to look at it, if I says ID Networks or ID something on it like that.
Mhm.
But they're the software vendor that's providing that database service on that server that we put in. So,
And Josh is like working with Terrence to get that.
Okay.
we're working with Terrence and the City of Marion. One thing that we are looking at doing, as we've been replacing these the switching infrastructure here in the core of the network of the county, there was some interdepartmental connections that didn't need to be there. For instance, like judges and probation were sharing the core, like a distribution switch with the rest of the county, but really they're supposed to be a physically segmented network. So as we've been doing this, I've been working with them and also working with the sheriff's department on where we need to, instead of logistically segment your networks, actually physically segment them so that there's not that interconnection at all. And so that's going to streamline, servicing county networks, servicing their networks, but also just guarantee additional security for all these big networks.
Well, and the way it was explained to me in our board meeting we had with 911 this last Thursday was that this is setting up another like firewall that somebody from the outside, they can't tap into our dispatch and then corrupt the other entities that are in it, like the City of Marion or the City of Heron or Johnson County, and the same thing with them. It's an extra setup, a firewall that prevents people from hackers being able to tap into this stuff.
Yeah,
It's way over my head. I don't
We're working
understand
to
it all.
segment that the sheriff or the law enforcement network off even further with their own firewall and their own connections as well. And just really a division of responsibilities. Instead of having one device service the many, we want to narrow down the serviceable entities under each firewall device if we can, especially when they have wildly different purposes and we're connecting to now different networks altogether. We want to limit the exposure of the rest of the county, essentially.
Right.
So we're working to do that. I think just as part of what we do as proactive measures, we identify potential risk. We want to mitigate that risk the best we can within our means or within the county's budget means, essentially.
So the question I had would be, do we need to put that on the agenda for one of our next meetings coming up?
Yeah.
The $1,500? Okay.
We got paid for.
And I'm not sure what that bill is. I assume it's not a bill from CPS.
No.
So
No,
it must be
something to do with
It's not,
911.
no, it's not.
Must be
It's,
with ID Network.
Right.
it's with
Yeah.
it's with us coordinating with the server, there's two servers that are in play here with the City of Marion. They're housed at the City of Marion.
Right.
At the, when I say the City of Marion, over at the jail.
Yeah,
They have a,
I'm gonna fudge the name on it, but it's like an automated dispatch server or
It's
something like that, where
Ad software.
they have basically paid for that, and then you guys are leasing utilization of that server or something like that, I think was my.
well,
understanding.
everybody's sharing the cost based upon our size.
Exactly.
So the City of Heron is paying into it, we're paying into it, Johnson County, and then Pope and Hardin. Those three counties are all together.
Right.
And they're gonna see the least number of 911 calls.
Right,
Then you've got Williamson County and Heron. So all three of us are basically all three entities are paying into this. And it's a one-time cost. It's $1,500.
yeah.
And then that's the final part of coordinating, hooking everything into these new servers. And the thing that we just did recently, that where we can come in and this is a part of where we can come in and like Kelly or Greg or somebody wants to replace this Nextel. Remember that?
Yeah.
So this helps with making sure that everything works together, and we'll be able to, this is part of the Nextel thing, replacing them where the highway department or anybody for that matter can come out and put a special message out there to the general public, and it covers everything. This technology world is moving quick,
Right, yeah, I agree.
faster than I am.
It's hard to keep up. Did you guys have any other questions, IT, CDS related?
No.
Anything we can do better for you right now? Okay, well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. See you
Thanks for
guys.
giving us an update.
All right. Ron, would you like to?
Yep. Make a motion that we accept the May 27th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Okay.
Rick Gentry.
Okay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we accept the June 1, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Okay.
Jim Marlowe.
Are we keeping you up?
Yeah.
Make a motion that we accept the June 8th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Make a motion that we accept the June 9th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we accept the June 15th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Okay.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
And make a motion that we accept the June 22nd, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
All right. I'd like to accept the following reports. The Public Defender reports, June 2020 through March, or from March 2018. I guess that's from the 2018.
That's kind of confusing. I'm not sure what that's. March 2018 to June.
Well, I had
That wouldn't be
one, I
right.
had one of them come over and give me that many from just that one public defender.
Wow. Okay.
So is there a March 2018 in there?
There is from one of the public defenders, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make a motion that we accept those reports.
From Caleb.
Caleb? Okay. I didn't see it in my packet. That's why.
That's the
Okay.
very last one.
And
And
the count,
he was very, he hadn't turned them in for a long time because his literally goes from 2018 through 2019.
okay, and the county clerk mobile home trust account semi-annual report. The county clerk real estate trust account semi-annual report. The county clerk statement of revenues and expenditures semi-annual report. The county clerk vital records semi-annual report. The county clerk mobile home trust for May. The county clerk real estate trust for May. The county clerk fees account for May. County clerk vital records for May, and the Williamson County General Fund report for May. Okay, under resolutions, we have a sale to new owner. I need a motion for the sale to new owner.
I'll make a motion from the sale of new owner for the city of Marion, 07-19127-007.
I'll second it.
Ron Ellis.
Okay.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay, we have a couple of appointments. The Williamson County Airport Authority is going to reappoint Javier Munez term. It's a 5-year term commencing on July 14, 2020, that will expire July 31st, 2025.
So,
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay. Then we have a water board appointment for the Lakeside Water District. It looks like Lester James is wanting to be reappointed to another 5-year term, commencing on today's date, due to expire July 31st, 2025.
okay, I'll make the motion. So,
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Rick Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay. Okay, other than that, we have anything we need to discuss?
Yeah, I want
These,
to talk something out there. I'm sure you all like me, but have any of you guys been getting, well, I was getting several phone calls about this co-op, like the power plant situation?
I've not gotten any calls.
I've not gotten any calls either.
Well, I'm gonna keep a tab on this. I've had 7. 4 of them are elderly people. 3 of them are people just concerned about.
15 minutes, press 1. To turn off the music, press 1.
I heard music. We heard music playing with me the other day, though. But anyway, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody does, but, you know, stuff like this is gonna be a blow to, if they do what they think, I think that, well, we talked about before, how they're gonna do, it's gonna be a blow to the whole area. Back, Ron, I don't know if you were on the board or not, back, the landfill came in, you here? Fracking thing.
I was at that was at the very, very beginning. That was right at the end of Bob Barnett.
Okay.
I was in the meeting, but I wasn't a commissioner at that time.
Well, back then, okay, so when people reach out to you, you represent everybody in the county. I mean, so you try to find out what's going, back then, we had a forum for fracking, were you part of that? Okay, and in the landfill. This gives them a chance, everybody, I guess, to just lay the cards on the table. There's so much stuff going around, could be total garbage, I don't know. But I guess the CEO is Mr. Gully. Based on what I've read, and I've read more stacks than that stuff, it's probably not shooting everybody straight. You know, as many people they service, it goes all the way to McLeansboro, you would think they would come out and tell their plan of what's going on for the people that are on this co-op, okay? Because they are, the members are basically the owners of the co-op. So I think on these two deals we had, they're very civil, they're run very well, and people, you limit to so many people to ask questions, and that's it. Anybody gets out of hand, out of the building. I believe that we need to have a forum and lay the cards on the table of what Mr. Gully, what their plans are, long-term plans. So I'm up to 7 calls on this thing. And I think we need to, we can't now because the 50-50 head rule, not that there might be 50 there, but at some point, I am for having some kind of open forum for this gentleman here to come in front of the people and tell them what's going on with the future of the power plant. Because it's going to be a trickle down across the whole county and counties, I guess. I did email him and ask him if he came for that, if someone would put on it for him. Very nice email to him. I got back some kind of garbage that was just basically like a press release, the history of the co-op. What it's just something to robo send out. I had a guy talking about this, said he has a media group here or whatever. And I told him, I said, you know, I wouldn't be writing stuff about this because you don't know the facts. I mean, you got people saying one thing, Mr. Gully may have the legitimate case on the whole thing that he says. Maybe nothing to it. But that's why these, like the landfill and the fracking, where they can actually ask the question, direct it to them, and they answer it.
You know, they do have that opportunity. All they got to do is go to their board meeting. Their board has the authority over
But
Don
not
Bell.
it's like us. Look at the crowd we have here. Not everybody can meet
But
that.
they do have that opportunity.
I'm, and I don't care if we don't want to do it. I'll tell this guy to meet out, he can do it. I don't care, but I think at some point, this is a roaring fire. It's going to get out of hand. And I don't like all the negativity towards the co-op without them being able to say, you're incorrect or you are correct. I don't think it's fair for anybody. I think if this board is going to be under attack or whatever, or asking questions, we should answer, have the right to answer.
Which board you talking about?
Us. We have a right to respond if we were being, same situation. I think this gentleman here should have the right to stand up and say, you are incorrect or you are correct. Here's the data. Or here's a plan. the way this is going down, based on the stuff I've been going through,
Now, if you recall, back in 2017, we had a meeting with the Don Gully and Leonard Hopkins. They came to us and they explained what was happening at that time.
at that time.
Yeah,
It's all
and
changed.
it was there were two things. One was they stated was that the EPA had issued some sort of sanction on them because in a nutshell, the EPA didn't accept their modeling. Everything was done by computer modeling concerning their emissions. EPA would not accept the power plant's modeling, even though they hired the same guy that developed the EPA's modeling system to do their modeling. They, at that time, had also requested them to put in a monitoring station to monitor the SO2 emissions, and the EPA wouldn't go for that. Now, that I think they were headed to court on that.
Well,
The only thing that they said at that meeting at that time was due to the fact that the EPA didn't accept their SO2 emissions, the EPA put some sort of sanction on them, and I forgot the title of this sanction, but it also put the sanction on the county itself as a whole. And that would mean that any new industry coming in would have to meet these standards set. And what they did at that time, the normal monitoring of the SO2 went from a tremendous number to a very minute number per hour. It used to be like, and I forgot how many parts per million or per billion per day. Then they changed the standard to per hour. So at any given time, if you had a high volume of SO2 output for 1 hour, but then the rest of the day was below standards, that you're okay, it didn't matter because that 1 hour was going to nail them. And so that's what they were trying to fight at that time. It went from just an average to per hour. And so they came to us and they said, we would like to have, we asked the question, what can the county do to help? And they said, maybe at some point we get a letter of support. And we said, okay, do we need that now? They said, no, not right now. Now, that was back in
It's kind of a big
2017.
deal. It shall change.
Yeah, and I asked Stephanie, I said, did we ever send that letter of support? She said, we looked and we never did. We were never asked, is what it boiled down to send that letter of support.
well, at that time, the Obama administration had, their goal was to get rid of all coal-fired power plants in the
Correct.
United States.
Correct.
And shortly before all of this happened, there had been an accidental leak.
Yeah.
And they got nailed.
Right. And Trump had just got elected then.
And, well, it was right before Trump got elected.
Mhm.
And then
Well,
Trump
this
comes
meeting was in
in,
2017.
the 2017, right.
Yeah.
And so then Trump gets elected and he softens the rules.
Right.
Well, but the Pritzker administration hasn't. The Pritzker administration has attempted to enforce in the state of Illinois the rules that the Obama administration had when he was in power. And that's some of where this stands. Now, I do know this, that there are some coal-fired power plants in the state of Illinois that's in the process of shutting down because Pritzker wasn't going to give their new license. And that's one of the problems they've run into down here is getting the new license. That's why the big transmitter or whatever you want to call it, the engine that runs this, the main part of it is they want to shut it down. The thing that I'm curious about, they would keep the smaller of the fired power plants in place, but they want to go to natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And natural gas isn't going to provide the energy that the coal will. And there's a lot of people that's going to lose their jobs here. The coal plant that supplies the coal,
Correct.
they're going to be toast. The trucking companies that come in,
Absolutely.
the car companies from the,
At that meeting, Leonard went on to say they did an economic study as to how many people are they actually directly and indirectly employed in the amount of money. And it was, I thought he said like,
Leonard's a good guy.
$100 million of,
Well, that power
economic
plant supplies
benefit.
6 counties and 235,000
because like what
people.
you said, the truck drivers, bringing the coal and stuff, and then not only the workers that work there.
It could be the ash truck, it could be devastating, and I just, listen. Again, this Mr. Gully, if you read through the stack of papers that I've read through, it doesn't add up, okay? I had an elderly lady ask me today, she said, well, what am I gonna do for
What stack
power?
of papers
Because-
did you
what
read?
Stuff from people for you. They got the paper. So,
Well, I'll give you my personal opinion on this. It's sad that, people have been laid off. I think it's
I
a
don't care,
terrible
that's not
thing.
even the point.
Yeah. But the power plant is a totally separate and independent entity. It's a private entity. They are governed by their own board, the Southern Illinois Power Co-op Board, okay, or the power plant board. Let's not get confused. A lot of people get confused. The power plant itself has its own board. Then you got your co-ops, and they have their own boards, okay?
There's 6 of them that they supply.
Right.
Correct.
But the power plant has their own board, and they control Don Gully as well. They've got the say-so over Don Gully. I think the people that you're referring to here need to direct their attention to the board and go to one of their board meetings to bring this to discussion. That's where the reform should be. The county itself has nothing to do with the private entity on this.
So as an elected official, we just turn a blind eye.
But we're not turning a blind eye.
I'm not gonna turn a blind eye, I can tell you that.
Well,
So,
I'm saying, you said we're turning a blind eye. We're not turning
you're
a
saying
blind eye.
basically, let them do their thing.
Well, they're their own board.
Okay.
And they've got a board that handles this, and that's where,
Then the board, we won't do anything, but they're probably
well,
for them.
not exactly, because at that meeting in March of 2017, we asked, what can we do? And we were going to issue a letter of support. I've had power plant employees call me before, and I said, I'll do what I can. And I've contacted Dave Severin and to try to help out, bring him in, because we ourselves have nothing to do with the power plant. Am I correct on that?
What would Dave Sever have to do with it?
Am I correct
What
on
would Dave
that?
Sever have to do with it? What do I think? If nothing, we don't have any say. What would Dave Sever have to do with the power plant?
Because he has something to do with legislation concerning coal.
He's on the energy board.
He's our state rep,
He's on the energy committee.
okay, or Dale Fowler. It doesn't matter. These are the legislators that make the laws concerning the power plant, not us. If you're gonna want change or action, the best thing to do
Well, they
is
need to be there
focus
too.
your energies where it's gonna do the most good. That board controls everything that goes on at that power plant. They're the ones that they need to talk to.
Maybe one of the people, whoever's head of the board needs to be this board.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
And they come to the board because there's gonna be one. We don't have to do it.
Because we have nothing to do with the power plant itself and their daily operations. We have nothing to do with that. You want to focus and I know what you're saying. And if I'm that individual that is upset, I want to focus my energies where it's going to do the most good. And that would be that board, because they're the ones that make the decisions on what they do, their daily operations and everything. And they control Don Gully. Just like,
Well, 2 of them went to the board meeting and they were just threw food off. No answers. It's not acceptable.
They should get the media in there.
that's where the media needs to go.
Don't worry. That's coming. You have to be transparent. These people pay to have that power and pay their damn salaries for that power. And they don't even know what the future is, that place. They're not being truthful. I'm telling you.
They pay their power bill goes to the power co-op.
Now, what's interesting is
No.
the way that was set up is Ameren has to go through the ICC to have any power rate increases, and it takes a long time to get a power rate increase through Ameren or ComEd, the big
To
ones.
extend the
The-
conference for 15 minutes, press
You want to hear
one.
music?
To turn off the music, press
So
That's crazy.
what they have to do down there, and this is not just that power plant, it's all of the REA entities. When you look at the rates that they pay a higher rate than what people who are under Ameren pay.
Well, it appears that the money is going to go towards Prairie instead of down here, that's their business, that's fine. But they haven't asked for an increase. They're not losing money.
But that's the decision of the SIPC
They owe it to
board.
to the people they support, they answer to those people. But they're not going to answer the questions.
Well, we have a vested interest in, just as citizens in the county, we have a vested interest because that facility is the number one payer of real estate taxes in the
Absolutely.
entire county.
Correct.
And, Marion, the areas that would see a drastic hit would be the Marion Unit 2 School District would see a tremendous hit if anything bad happens down there. The county itself would see a tremendous hit on that. And then it would be the trickle down. Everybody in the county would ultimately see some kind of a hit, but the entities that they're in would see the biggest hit.
I mean, you would think the co-op members would get, a clue what's going to happen.
When
with their
they pay
future.
their power bill, their money doesn't go to the power plant. It goes to the co-op.
The whole co-op.
The
They are
co-op,
the
the
co-op.
co-op buys the power from.
Yeah, they are the co-op. The members are the co-op. So why are they not being told what the future is?
Then they need.
That's a good
need-
question.
They need to go.
Well,
to
they did, and they got,
Well,
sorry, so.
they're getting whitewashed.
Then
in my
they-
opinion,
then-
worse.
then they should force their co-op to go to those meetings and go with them and ask those questions.
And I will say that the ones that went to the meeting were not, just forget the people being laid off. That has nothing to do with this, okay?
Well, they said what,
Well,
there was
I mean,
27?
My
I'm
point of
concerned
this
about the
is,
people they're getting laid off.
it's sad what's going on. They made their decision on that, it's over, but not being upfront of the future and not being straight up is the problem. These folks, they got a severance, whatever, it's not the point of this. They need to be upfront and be transparent to what's going on to these people, and that old elderly lady asked me a question. I don't know the answer what her future is. No idea. She can't get any answers. It's not right. So maybe Kelly, you have any idea when this 50 rule phase will be increased, 50 people?
That ain't gonna happen until we get a vaccine.
Not as long as Pritzker's governor, that ain't gonna happen.
I'm just here to give you my EMA briefing. I'm a little late. I had a meeting with one school district.
Oh, we just started.
We just started?
We just waited for you.
You were second on the list, we were waiting. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to see if you, did you all get my monthly zero rep?
Mhm.
Can't tell.
You can hear better now. We can hear you better now.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Come over here.
Oh, come on.
Well, everybody needs a chance to see you.
We've got the PPE, we've got enough supply for.
We have
which
enough
is good.
supply of face masks, surgical masks for 30 days. A little over 30 days, probably closer to 60 probably,
For first responders or for the county itself?
for our burn rate, which is long-term care, first responders, everyone that we have been providing for since the get-go, since response started.
Okay.
So that's everyone that's been provided for. As far as all the other PPE, we have about 90 days worth of supplies.
Have you been asked has AEMA been asked by anybody of these other states that are struggling for any of your PPE?
I have not been personally asked.
They have come through?
I was approved I signed up for a grant for cloth masks, and I got approved for those. I'll be getting 50,000 cloth masks.
What's different in cloth and this?
Days. Huh?
Cloth?
They
Those
be
are
washed up to
disposable.
15 times.
Oh,
So my goal on those is the school districts that aren't involved with the ISP one, which are the public schools, are getting the cloth mask from ISP. So I don't have to worry about those. However, the private schools are not getting those. So I'm going to provide them with a cloth mask, which is only like 8,000. All the employees will get a cloth mask for the county, and then I'll have a ton left over, so that will,
Well, like the mask, you guys, I wash it with it's like my hands underneath the thing, or is that all, is that what you do?
yeah, you can throw in the wash.
You can?
These are made that you can throw in the washer too.
Hmm.
So,
One wrong there, you
Yeah.
thought.
It's like this,
yep, it's
And
exactly
you
like
got
that
your
with the
blues.
white.
yeah. And
Just like
it
that,
has
it's all white.
it has a thing here where you can actually put a filter inside of
Right.
it. And that way the filter can be replaced. And then this is designed to last, I don't know how many washes till it falls apart.
Probably 15 times.
Also smoke a cigarette out.
But if you don't put them in the washing
Yeah.
machine, you just wash them out by hand, they should last longer. Because this is a good quality. So-
Yeah, I got one like that with the filter. What filter you put in it? Like a coffee filter?
Coffee filter.
Yeah. Is what they're recommending.
I had no idea what it was. Okay.
So right now, we're working on the school plans to Monday, 20th. That's Monday? That's Monday. I don't even know what.
Yeah, Monday's the
what
20th.
week it is. Anyway, we're working on the plans. Hopefully they'll be ironed out by then. Looks like most of our school districts are doing blending, but blending learning as of right now, not unless something changes. That looks like what's.
Well, that changes by the day or hour.
I see they had 300 prom doors inside there tonight. That was really
Yeah.
nice.
Don't even want to think about that.
Unbelievable.
How is things going and do you need any help in trying to put together the list for, yeah,
We just started it.
who's we?
You're looking at her.
I know, I talked with,
Actually, Ashley's helping too. I can't say that. Ashley and Celeste are helping too. Ashley's working on the payroll part. Celeste is looking over my grant app that I filled out. It's about 37 pages long, so we're working on that right now. She's gonna just kind of look over it, make sure everything's good to go. It's a little different than the normal PA. Usually you typically have the 75-25% where we have to pay for the 25%. It's not like that this year. This go around, we don't have to pay anything. There's a second grant where it's called the CARES Act, and they're gonna pick up the other 25%, so we don't have to pay anything. And I don't know if it's gonna work or not, I'm gonna try it. I talked to Bi-County, and due to the fact that the way the stay-at-home order was, the way it was worded, and the fact that we had a positive case within the county, and we chose to mitigate the way we did in the building. I'm gonna write a letter and they're gonna put it on their letterhead, and we're gonna send it in with our payroll. And we're gonna see if we can get the every other week that was COVID week, if that makes any sense, paid for. So that's how we're gonna justify that. Does
Well,
that make any sense?
yeah, that, and I was talking about the reimbursement that we're supposed to be getting. Is this is part of
That's
that?
what that
Okay.
is, yeah.
So, but JCAR is meeting today up in Springfield to set some of the, try to establish more of the
For the revenue,
monies that would be eligible for reimbursement. Because right now, as I see it, though, that list is very narrow. We're not, any monies that it has to be money that we actually lost. And what I think's a crock is that it's not looking
well,
at what
through
we're
the PA
losing.
grant it is, but not the CARES grant.
Well, they're not taking a look at what we're losing in sales tax money, income tax
Well, you're
money.
talking about something totally different. That's going up to the legislation. So you've got the PA grant, you've got the CARES grant, and then there's something going to legislation. So there's three different things going on. So the PA grant is what I applied for through the county, and that's through the declaration. That is the 75-25%. So that extra 25% that we would typically have to come up with, which would be what our volunteer hours would cover, or any extra costs that we would come up with, but that's getting covered by the CARES grant, which is through the federal government, FEMA. And it's that's something they came up with through COVID. It's, I don't know, like $7.2 billion that's getting spent on CARES grant. So that is gonna pick up the remaining amount that we won't have to cover. But they've got something going to legislation to cover all the revenue lost for like all the businesses that were closed, that we lost, there's tons of money we lost. So they're gonna try to come up with that and pass that through legislation. That's what you're talking about.
No,
JP.
what I'm talking about is what they've allocated, the federal government allocated $235 million to Illinois. And our cut potentially could be about $700,000. But we have to, that's where your
Ours is
expenses.
835.
Is 835, okay. Which would be, but we have to prove, that's what you're talking about, is we have to prove how much we've actually lost. So,
Right.
you know, and any money
Receipts
that's
and
left
stuff.
over goes, the way it's set up, any money that's left over goes back to the state. If we don't get the whole 835,000, oh yeah.
But
We-
that's not just our count, that's just not us. That's anyone in the county. So that's any jurisdiction, that's anybody that applies for that public assistance grant. That's just not us. So anybody. Like anybody that's non-for-profit. Like Agape School's gonna apply for it. So their foggers that they're buying, they're going to apply for it and get those people.
Okay.
So it's not just us as a government entity, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I thought that I was told that we have to put together the expenses. What we,
Absolutely, yeah.
and that's what we would be reimbursed for, what we could prove that we
Right,
expensed.
exactly. But it's not, the $835,000 is per capita. So it's just not the government entity that gets to apply for that money. It's anyone in the county.
No, that's just coming to the county because the city of Marion gets its own money. Carbondale got 1.6 million. Okay,
Really?
City of Marion's getting
Okay.
$700 something thousand. And that's what they're eligible for. They have to prove that they had those expenses.
It might be a different, I don't know, maybe that's a different report than what I have, but that's not the reports I'm getting. But I don't know, it might be different. It might be something different. But on the per capita, because I get those from IEMA, the reports.
It's
And
based on the
it's-
per
Yeah, I
capita
don't
in
know,
the
but
county.
anyway, that's where I'm at as far as the grants go, so.
I got an idea.
Does anybody have any questions?
How about you go to him after the meeting
I
in his
don't know.
office and you guys can hash it out?
It might be different.
Well, I don't know. That's just what I.
I don't even think we'll come close to hitting that anyway.
No.
That's the problem. We're gonna lose that money, but it's not based off of money that you've lost or going to lose from revenue coming in. And it specifically says you can't replace lost revenue.
Right. I don't know.
Thanks, Kelly.
Is there anything else? Okay, yes,
Now, right now, when we turned in payroll and stuff, it was marked that way, so you have that information,
yes,
correct?
yes,
This would just be any other expenses that we are,
incurring, yep. And anything in the future too, until this ends, whenever that will be,
so the plexiglass and stuff that we purchased,
absolutely.
Anything special that you've had to do to your office to
tape
help?
and stuff, so we could tape off any of those expenses.
The PBC didn't purchase that plexiglass?
So
You did.
Amanda
Okay.
was
Right, we
doing good enough that she.
were gonna use our windows,
Uh-huh.
but it was a little dark. I mean, Mike did come to us for some stuff, but we knew we were able to do it with this grant,
All right.
so
I just didn't know who.
we went ahead
And so-
through the election company that I have.
Okay. She allowed me to order, and so we did purchase that, just so, you know, they're already made up, and they do work better, and then we have the doorbell set up, so I just want to make sure that I knew the salary, I thought the salary stuff was there, because I know we spend time as office holders trying to plan all this out, who's good, so.
And the CARES grant is actually even going to allow us to, any laptops that were bought for purposes of remote working as well, we can claim those as well, so. I know the state's attorney's office did some, and like anything over the courthouse for the courtrooms, for their, court cases and
Video.
stuff, the videos, yeah. those are
For
gonna be
15 minutes.
Could we
To
do-
turn,
could we do ours? Could we
Absolutely,
purchase
absolutely.
For the board review here?
Yeah, because we had to buy that specifically for this.
Yes, yes.
And that's why the laptop computer, the new laptop computer that we're gonna need over there, we can, I believe that would qualify too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a good time then to purchase like what came to you that one time about the big screen TV on that mobile cart that we could utilize for maybe Zoom meeting or
And it
anything.
doesn't have to be purchased right now, it's like, you can do like the future, like we're gonna do this in the
Yeah.
future. So you don't have to.
As long as it's on the books.
That's right, as long as it's on the books, you're pre-planning it, it's a mitigated thing.
Okay.
As long as you have like your, I guess, an estimate.
That includes the motorcycles.
Yeah, right?
But anyway,
Anything else? All
I
right.
think that's it. Jeff, you got something for us?
Hi, Jeff Rowe.
I just wondered if he had picked up
He came yesterday and picked it up.
just over the ingress egress, the utility easement.
I told him about it. I don't know if he picked it up or
He
not.
came yesterday and
Did
picked
he
it
pick
up.
it up?
Did he? Okay. So
He's okay with,
I assume he paid for it.
He said he was taking it over to an abstractor to look at it first and then he was going to record it.
but I told him tomorrow, that was
Is
always.
this on the land?
Yeah, this is on for land
This has to
agreement.
do with this. We want to make sure that's finally been
Yeah.
completed and it's been reviewed. It was reviewed by Marion Abstract before we told them to come by and pick it up.
Yeah.
So that's all done. It's just a question of who paid for the recording fees.
So
He's got it, so we're good on that. That was the only other issue I had. And then I had a phone call about the Greater Egypt meeting tonight and also about tomorrow at 9 o'clock is the enterprise zone.
correct. And that's to
Hopefully to
Make
change it so that it goes
push to-
past the.
get full 5 years.
You get the full 5. Whoever signs up even on the last year of it, will still get that extended to the full 5 years before payment.
Is that?
You'll be there at that meeting, won't you?
I told him I was gonna be there. I assume, I haven't talked to you yet. but
Yeah.
I assume that I would present
I'd like-
9 o'clock.
I'd like to have you there.
Is that with Greater Egypt?
Yeah, that's with the.
The enterprise zone
Zone Committee,
committee.
because we're wanting to change that rule and you have to have a meeting with the enterprise zone to change that.
Okay.
So we swung too far the other way. Now we're not business friendly anymore.
I agree.
We need to go back,
Right.
we need to go back toward the middle. But with most things, that's the way it usually happens. So anyway, we're going to hopefully take care of that issue tomorrow at that meeting. And then hopefully have some news about whether or not it's been granted for another 10 years too.
Okay.
Because that's in the way. So, all right, that's all I have.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So you'll
Jeff.
find that out tomorrow?
We should vote on it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He supposedly present how we're going to looking at just removing the language after we start talking about restricting it. So we're just thinking about removing that language totally. And I had Brandon look at it when he was over here, we were working
Correct.
on the easements and stuff, and he thought that also would work. So we just want to remove that language, have everybody vote on it, and make sure we get that in there to be more business friendly.
So then when this enterprise board votes on that, then it comes to us? Or we don't have to vote on
There's
it?
your representative right there.
Okay.
When he votes for it, then
And
yeah, he's.
you guys are in favor of that,
He's a
correct?
taxing authority
1,000%.
for that.
2,000.
You know, and so
Yeah.
as long as the
Got it.
superintendent and
You're
everybody
1,000, me
votes
1,000.
for it, then once the
3,000
majority
person.
rules. Now, here's the deal. A individual taxing district like a park board can say, no, I don't want to abate this way. And they did that before on the other one. Carterville did that on the 10-year, back when we changed this originally. So an individual entity can say, no, we're not gonna go with this. And that's why you sent that language out before this meeting. Hopefully they read it, but anyway, so yes, we should be able to vote on this tomorrow. To get the schools and the county board, that matters almost 80% of your taxable or more. So as long as that gets abated, then that's.
Every superintendent I talked to, I talked to them, they thought it was crazy to have
Well,
it the
that's
other
gonna be
way.
the biggie is the schools. As long as they're good for it, then that won't be an issue. And then, yeah, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
Great. So,
Great.
Right.
Where's the meeting at tonight?
It's here.
Here.
And you can either, they have limited seating, you can come here or you can Zoom in.
Zoom in.
I know what I'd be there.
We don't want to know what you're doing.
Zooming in.
We want to know what you're doing during a Zoom meeting, okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Gentry? I prefer not to go down that.
His is blacked out.
Exactly. Thank you.
That TV thing that I was talking about, and that I believe Ryan gave me a quote. It's for like a 60-inch TV and a mobile stand like they have upstairs. I think it was like about $800 for both
Yeah.
total package, to where we could either use it in there in the little room or bring
Or
it out
here.
here for any other
$800 for both? That's
total.
cheap.
I think we need to do it.
It's like $500 for the TV
Here-
and $3 for the stand.
Just 60 inches, like $9.99 is my good for two.
Real quick, what's going on here is that JCAR is literally meeting today to try to come up with some more guidelines, trying to loosen the parameters for what we can be reimbursed for. Our amount was $835,000. Carbondale is 1.6 million. Marion, which I don't understand this, is a little under 800,000. And so we have to prove what expenses we're out to get reimbursed for. We can't put any lost revenue in or projected lost revenue. That's forbidden from being put into this, which 835,000, if we could get that full amount, that would pretty well cover us for what we're probably going to lose this year, if not a little bit more. But we can't put in there lost revenue. Expenses that we've incurred only. So that's where the payroll comes in, anything else that we can put into this. Anything that we don't come up with for the 835,000, the way it's written right now, that money goes back to the state of Illinois. And the state of Illinois can do anything they want with it. What the meeting with JCAR today is to do what Kelly said, is to try to loosen it up to where it can come to other entities inside the county. The monies that they have, like what we had with the resolution today, is completely different set of money than what we're talking about with this 835,000. It's completely different. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of parameters JCO comes out of it, or JCAR is the right terminology for it. And we'll just have to see. But hopefully we know that we're going to get reimbursed for some of our money. But boy, it would sure be nice to come close to that $800,000.
Be awesome.
We could use it.
Oh, I know we could.
And I think it's ludicrous that you can't put in projected losses for revenues, because everybody and their brother knows that, it's how much you're losing with sales tax, use tax, income tax. Yeah.
We got a couple of things here that, some overages. And number one is from the treasurer's office for BBAM Enterprises.
Now I checked, that's still coming out of the treasurer's budget. It just, the line item that it would come out of is in the red. But his overall budget's still in the black.
Correct.
What they're doing here is they're specifically looking at these one lines that are in the red for the different three departments here, but the monies are still coming out of the
Who is being paid?
That's,
Beal.
Beal.
But it's coming out of the treasurer's budget. It's just the line that it would come out of is in the red.
Why can't he use his
It doesn't
special
qualify
fund?
for the special funds. But his overall budget's in the black, just like these other two, their overall budgets are still in the black.
Okay.
It's just that for Kim wanted it set up to where we have to vote on any line item
No,
that's
I
in the
understand
red.
that. I
We have
understand
to vote
that.
on it.
But I'm just saying, like computer setup and programming. Okay,
It didn't qualify for this narrow.
I understand, but what is the
What does
computer?
it qualify? What
Why-
does it take?
This
Why
was when
didn't-
this was when he went in and had to redo the W-2s. They had to redo the configuration for the W-2s. And it didn't qualify for the special funds.
We have
Of course,
a $90,000.
his slush funds.
We have a $90,000 unit.
I can't argue that one, but we don't, do we?
I'm,
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is,
I know what you
If-
mean.
if he wanted this, but yet his line item said, we can't afford it, he made the decision to go with it.
As long as, we talked about earlier, as long as he does not go outside the budget.
The overall budget.
Overall budget, he can move it around and do what he wants to do. That's his
Then
money.
if he can move it around.
What it's
then
designed, but what
Is
it's,
there
desi-
something he can move around to take care
No,
of this?
he can't.
Well, then knowing that ahead of time and making the decision to go with this,
But what it's designed for, the reason you have the budget lines in the first place is if that line goes in the red, then you can adjust it for next year. And,
that's what I'm getting at, is adjusting it for next year.
but you'll have to, it won't happen until the next budget's done. But his overall budget is still in the black.
Once again, that's all part of this. If you know your line, whether it be your line or your total budget, is gonna not allow whatever you want. And it would take months before it's paid for with the next budget. And then you make the decision, do I need it now or do I wait?
Well,
I mean,
the
he
W-2,
made the decision.
No, I know
W-2s
what you're
didn't have
saying,
a
but
choice.
I think what you're saying is that he's not going to be over.
his budget's gonna be in the black, but on
Right.
this, they had to make the changes to the W-2s.
Understand?
And he didn't put enough line, he didn't put
I
enough in that
understand
line.
both of you.
I just-
So I don't care what we do.
Well, I think you're not,
I'm just
and I
giving
know what
you-
you're saying,
I'm just
and I.
giving the explanation.
Yeah, I know, and I understand that. But the thing of it is, I think this is a fine line that you walk. Okay, if we do that here, now we got this guy.
And it's same, they're all
And then
three
we
the
got
same.
this guy.
So
Where do we draw
look
the
at those
line?
look at
Where
the
do we
other
draw the
three.
line?
Well, once again, you've got the judge's office, you've got a specific line that is in the black, or in the red. And then who's that one?
I'm the state's attorney.
Okay. So you've got a specific line in
That's
their,
in
in line, in their budget.
What
that in
what
the-
is the SA's office, what is this about?
This one is juvenile publication.
But he stays within his budget overall.
Well, we don't know yet, because remember, the year before, I think he was over budget and he had to make up, he had to pay back, whatever, but, so I would think he's probably within the budget right now.
His budget's still in the black
Yeah.
overall.
Okay.
And the paperwork there shows the highlighted where the line, what line specifically is being looked at.
So I'm just saying, it's a fine line that you walk on this. That's personally, I say no. I say no. You make a decision on this. Now, some of this stuff, okay, I mean, it's,
But then you have vendors that are doing business with the county that are not getting paid.
I want to, just before I say one more another, so when you say that you make a decision on it, what, define that? I want to make sure, one noise, to get that up around in my brain. You say you got this fine line, you make a decision on it. Make a decision on what?
Well, take a look,
whether you want
whether
to
you want to pay
pay
these bills
this.
or not.
pay these bills.
Take a look.
Oh, us
Us
decision.
pay the
Oh, I meant
bills.
their decision.
No, it's coming out of their budget. The bottom line is, at
Taking
the
out
end of the
contingency.
year,
Pay for it.
if it would come out of contingency if their overall budget is in the red.
And then we could take care of it in the next budgets.
Well,
Make it up in the next budget.
Yeah. Well, I would say is if you're correct, and I guess you find out, whoever find out, if they're going to be in black with things, then I have no problem doing it.
At the moment, all three budgets are in the black at the moment. We don't know what'll happen by the end of November 30th. But anything that's in the red, if the overall budget, for an example, we'll use the coroner's office. If his goes in the red at the end of the year, we have to pick it up in contingency. We have to pick up any shortages from any of the individual budgets.
That's correct.
And then,
Adjust on this budget.
and on these three invoices right here, those specific lines, here we are in July, those specific lines, that one line in those overall budgets for those three departments is in the red. And that's why Kim wanted it set up so that we had to vote on anything that went,
This,
line item went in the
Right, and
red.
that's why it's before us.
this BBAM or whatever you said.
BBAM.
BBAM,
That's Beal.
for future, you know how I feel about buying that $90,000 unit, not you.
15 minutes.
So if it's got anything to do with that in the future, and it can be utilized from the funds, that's where I want it to come from.
Say it again, because I was.
Oh, okay, so in the future.
I was turning the music off.
It depends on what it is. In the future, I feel that we have a $90,000 package that's sitting down there for way before the current treasurer came here, with all due respect. And until that's being utilized, anything in the future that BBAM does that can be paid for out of these funds, that's where I want.
Special,
Especially where I want to see paid for.
there were three
like
invoices.
But this one here,
said-
if it's in the black, then.
There were
it's
three
paid for.
invoices that he had, that, the other two he was able to pay for through the special
Okay.
funds. This one, I think it's 425.
Automation funds.
Automation funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one didn't qualify for the automation funds. It was 420, I think 425, is that amount there?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
And, so the line item that it would come out of, because it has to go to a specific line item, it can't go to like office supplies or something like that. There's a specific line that's highlighted there that it goes for. And, but that one line now is in the red.
But the overall budget's in the black.
The overall budget's in
That's
the
all I
black
care about. So,
At
and
the
I
moment.
have no problem with that as long as it's in the black.
at the moment. And it
Well,
probably
but that
will
can
be.
change on anything. Anything can happen.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay, but
hell, we could do it tomorrow.
I understand what you're saying, but then as time goes on, we've got this again. And we've
I
got this
got
again. And if we keep doing this, then his overall budget will always be in the black. Because we've taken care of every overage that they have.
His overall budget.
His
Well,
overall
the
budget.
overall budget at the end of the year would be coming from us.
So actually, his overall budget, is not, if you're looking overall, because this is in the red.
That one line item only.
Yeah.
The one line item. on it.
Right, but the overall, when you're looking overall, that includes this line item.
But the other lines are
I
gonna be more than.
I understand.
I get all this, and then I look at.
This is why I say it's a slippery slope.
The other offices over the past years, like, sorry, we're red. And we go ahead and do it. So
And
we got,
that's-
it goes back to what we said in budget. Where do you put the brakes on it?
Because if you don't put the brakes on here, we're not gonna put the brakes on anywhere. Forget it, it's over. It's over,
We haven't been able to yet.
That's what I'm saying. So, with that in mind, you know very well that people think, well, if I just send a letter asking for forgiveness rather than permission, I'll just go ahead and do it, they're gonna pick it up anyway. Or we'll make it up next year.
But for the next year's budget, we have final say of that budget.
The only thing I would say is if you do this and you pay for it out of contingency, you keep track of this and deduct
No,
out of
no,
the
no, no,
next.
it's not out of contingency, it's out of that fund.
That's the only
We're
reason why I
permitting
said,
that
But you're
fund.
gonna pay for,
Maybe, maybe not.
we gotta go for the moment, we don't know. That's the slippery slope.
You don't
We
know,
don't know.
so, you don't know that their budgets, if their overall budget's in the black, then it's that overage for that one line's absorbed in their overall budget.
Right.
We don't pick it up only if the overall budget goes in the red.
Correct.
okay,
But we don't pick up that one line item at the end of the year.
we're not paying for this out of contingency.
Not yet. Only if the entire budget is in the red.
Correct.
All,
Okay, what defined entire budget?
their whole budget.
Entirely, I mean, all line items.
No, no, no,
Everything.
for his,
Yes,
for
no,
their
no,
line,
he's
for
right.
the state's attorney's office, yes. For the judge's office, yes. For the
Treasurer.
treasurer's office, yes. If their entire budget
Stays within
overall
100, whatever it
stays
is.
with underneath in the black, then that line item is paid for by his overage. And the rest of the overage would be eligible to go to our contingency
This
fund.
goes back to what we had the issue with, the $6,000. We take it out and put it in a
Special fund.
budget.
Yeah.
And we're all like, forget it, just leave it. They can use it for different line items.
Mhm.
As long as the budget is not in the red, I don't mind.
So then, probably, we could probably track where they're at any given time. Of course,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't.
There's a.
You can do that right now.
I mean, you.
Yeah.
That's what this
Yeah,
does.
Right.
When we come
exactly.
in here, like for an example,
Big slash on it.
There's
Right.
already one attached to that claim
Yeah.
right there.
so like the county coroner right now, through May, now this is through May 31st, but his actual year-to-date expenses was $107,000. His total appropriated budget was $205,900. He still got $99,000 for the rest of the year to pay. None of his categories are in the red
This
yet.
will be absorbed by the rest of their budget.
It could be, it should be, but there's no way to know between now and November that every line that they're gonna have is gonna be okay. But at this
I mean,
moment, we know that one line
I
in the
understand
treasurer's
why
budget.
some go over, like if there was an unforeseen increase on an item for some reason, you know, like on a publication, you know, the costs, there was an increase on the costs. From the time that we budgeted for it to the time that it was paid. Okay, I understand that. So then with that being said,
I'll give you an example. Okay, so right as we speak right now, as of May 31st, and I was looking for this because I knew it was here. Corrections overtime
Mhm.
in the sheriff's office. That one line is already $6,800 in the red overtime because they've had less
No,
people.
it's 100%.
So his salary is way low, but his overtime is high. So his overtime is already $6,800 in the red at May 31st. By the end of the year, that line's going to be one heck of a red number. But hopefully his overall budget will stay in the black because his other salary line is down because he's 11 people short.
And you look at the treasurer's office, he's got just over $29,000 left in his budget to the end of the year.
well, this doesn't really require any vote. I mean, so
No.
it's just,
No.
No, we just
but
have to-
it's the only way we can talk about it, so I mean, you
And
go,
so we have to agree to sign it.
well, we don't have to agree, you can sign or don't. I'll
Well,
sign it. As
that's
long as we don't
true.
go over, I'll sign it. As long as we
But
go
for
over.
us to discuss this and like we have is we have to do it here.
You and Jeff Rowe and Brett. Oh, yeah.
stars and stripes. So, all right then. So let me get back. Okay, we're done talking about this.
Are we going to sign them then?
I will on your
Okay.
shape in the budget. No problem.
Okay, let me get back to what we were discussing a moment ago about the hire plan.
Oh.
Okay. Number one, I feel it's sad that they had a reduction of, was it 26 employees?
Well, they have
That's-
27 there, but when you look at everybody else, you're probably looking somewhere between 50 and 60
Right.
employees total, at
And
least.
that power plant is at least I think it's actually over 3% of the total assessed valuation. As Jeff explained before, the power plant is assessed, and that's total, all their properties combined, not just the one thing, but you might as well figure it all together. They still can operate. So in other words, their valuation probably will drop, and because of maybe some of the factors as they would put on there because of a shutdown and, more or less a downsizing, you would say. But it's not a total loss yet as far as how that affects the county. It affects the county in the fact that you've got 27 people that got laid off, and that is truly a
That's just from
setback.
that plant. That doesn't
Yeah.
count everybody else
Right.
that's not working.
Right. But as far as putting a form together, if we do that for one entity, I just think that we're going to have to start doing that for all these entities that may have ever shut down or laid off or whatever. They have their own board. I mean, this is just my opinion. I think we'd be meddling with the private entity. They could, come here to our board meeting if they wanted. They can go to their board meeting if they want. Ron, what do you think about it?
I think it is an interesting situation because it'd be like us trying to go to Pepsi-Cola and tell them Pepsi, you can't do this, or Ison. I know Ison's not in the city, but any other big business that was in the county, it would be difficult for us to try to,
Well, it really doesn't matter
Tell
because
them.
they all get totally assessed.
right.
As far
But
as Fetz County.
I do believe that you're going to see a reduction. I see them coming this next year and saying, okay, we've lost this power plant. This is some of our capability. And because of that, we need a reduction in our real estate tax assessment. I see that
They're
happening.
definitely gonna do that.
They're gonna do that.
There's
I
no ifs,
understand.
ands, or buts
Yeah,
about it.
Right.
And then the other thing that's going to happen is that's going to change the dynamics of that lake dramatically.
Well, I would imagine.
It's not,
That's the other calls about the lake. What's happening? Hell, I don't know.
I don't either.
But
And I don't know
but the
who,
board, they wouldn't get the answer down there. Nobody.
and I don't know what the answer is on that. I truly don't, but I just
What's
believe
gonna happen to the tournaments? They say, I don't know. I have no idea what's gonna
that
happen.
you're going to see a dynamic change in the water temperature of the lake.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I want to clarify that this board is concerned with what's going on down there. I want to make sure everybody understands that. It does affect us all. I understand that as well. But the decisions that that private entity makes are their decisions and the decisions that that board makes. Now, whether it's between the board, Don Gully, Mr. Gully, or whoever, Leonard Hopkins, I have no idea. But we have no say-so in what they do.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of just telling what to do. It's a matter of how are the people gonna get their answers if they can't get them. It's just like there's so much on the fracking and the landfill, so much back and forth that wasn't true. Just be transparent and just lay it out there for all these people to know. I mean, they went great. We don't have to do it. I'm not even saying we have to do it. It's gonna be done, okay? There's gonna be one done. So, I just don't think the transparency is very good down there. And I just don't think these people.
Are they
being
subject to
answered.
FOIA?
They would have to be, I would think.
I thought it was under through public dollars only.
I don't
The
know.
co-op is the members.
I don't
It's their
know.
money.
Because I don't know if they may get federal dollars.
Well, it's their money, so they have the right to look at anyone.
I would think that if I was, I know at one time I used to be an REA out of Coal Valley. And we used to read our own meters and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I truly do not know.
I thought that, do you know, Steph?
I mean, I believe that any public entity other than.
Public because you're using tax
The
dollars.
co-op people, not,
And so-
I can't. I'm not on theirs. I'm not on theirs.
But what I'm getting at is because the main reason is because tax dollars are used I'm sure they get federal money somehow, some way, which are tax dollars. And so they would be subject to
I think
FOIA.
Leonard retired.
But I'm saying like you couldn't FOIA Dollar General or something like that.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? It's a private entity. No, there's no tax dollars, no public dollars involved.
But the co-op is made up of the members.
Yeah, the co-op are made up of the members. I mean, but it's
And they should be explaining things to these members.
You would think.
the board,
You would,
the board
correct. You would think,
explaining.
but there's too much this not saying stuff. It's just crazy.
And you know what, then, the way to handle that is get those people, elect different people to those co-op boards.
That and get the media.
And the power plant.
When they have a board meeting, have the media show up. But Lord knows I've done that.
That's for them, but it's, I just like to be transparent. I hate seeing people saying, I don't like people dogging somebody unless they could respond back. Very simple. If this board is going,
Well,
it's not telling people, this is their chance to have open dialogue. It's not working now.
it just gives you the appearance that if
Not
nobody,
answering.
none of the officials are wanting to answer questions, why?
Now,
Which raises more
Bingo.
questions.
our meetings here are always open to the public for the most part, unless we go into executive
Right.
session, correct? So if somebody came here and was asking these questions, or you could invite any of those members here to one of our meetings, but if they don't show, they don't show. You can't
Well,
force them.
remember, wait.
I'm just saying,
I know, but why would the members come here? We just have nothing to do with it. Then
Right.
if you're not gonna have the other side here,
You're-
so the only way you're gonna do it is to have them in the same room and just be
no,
honest.
right, and that's the way it'd work out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have an
no.
informed and be honest with each other
But-
and none of this,
But even then, if they don't want to have the forum, how can, you can't force it.
They were asked. And if they don't show up, why not?
Well, you can ask them.
I mean, man, like, for instance, just say, if you ask them, Ms. Kelly or what,
15 minutes, press 1.
and one of the board members doesn't respond, we have to respond to everything asked us.
Then it's on that board and those members
They're
to vote
not.
those people
Why
out.
not?
That's what you do. And if we do the same way, if we don't answer the questions of the people here, they would vote us
I'm
out.
gonna tell you straight up, this started, you were a military.
Yeah.
I didn't hear, don't, what said it? Bum, 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 bum. This last month, okay. Some people are just, they're radicals. Believe me, I know who they are. Okay, so, but some of these elderly people have legitimate concerns and they can't get answers.
And there's no explanation as to why you can't get an answer. That's the problem.
That is the problem. Maybe, I'm not on their thing,
But-
you know? But these people can't get answers.
So if they don't show up for the forum,
That shows you.
but then that's all we can
That's a
do.
flag.
That's all you can do.
But they
That's
need-
all you can
The
do.
general public needs to show up at their board meeting and enforce.
That's it. They're the ones, you're correct. They're the ones that control everything. Now, the board member, they got a board.
But they
SIPC's
have-
got a
They
board.
need to have the media there too.
That's their call, but they have been there, so that's the problem.
So.
I mean, when the people call us in the county, you look into things. That is our job, okay? I don't know if there's things, but if anything stood in it is, but not answering is just kind of odd. No plan. Where am I, this lady said, where am I gonna be a year or two now from my sources? Man, I have no idea. Why are they telling them what the plan is?
Well, I think the plan is,
Go to Prairie, that's the plan.
the plan from the Pritzker administration is to do away with it
Well,
in its entirety.
Well, but they, again, this board has decided they're gonna end up going to Prairie with it all, which Kelly sits on that board, so that's where they're gonna take it all to. So, and this will be shut down, and we're gonna be left out in the cold.
Then the $1 million
No pun
question
intended, out in the cold.
is do they get,
Things work out. No, better not keep it to myself.
That's for later date.
keep what to yourself?
His thoughts. Yeah, I didn't hear nothing. Did you hear
My
that?
thoughts.
I'm gonna salute his sock here in a minute. Have we figured out why that's a mass yet? I see half mass, some in town and some aren't.
I have no idea.
The flag.
I don't know. I swear to goodness, I don't
Okay.
know at this time.
Well, if there's nothing else to be discussed.
Make a motion to adjourn?
You must stomach your island.
I'll second it.
Did you make the one?
Yes.
Okay.
And I second
Make
it.
a motion to adjourn?
I'll third it.
All right, Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Gentry.
I'm gonna figure out how to